Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias.
Okay, I have this great opportunity to do a traveling knife review. For those unfamiliar with the traveling knife reviews, these were actually started by Tom from Knife Delights. He started this idea of sending out a knife to numerous people. They would be able to take a look at the knife, review the knife, give their thoughts and opinions on it, and then pass it along to somebody else. And basically, typically along the way, things get added to the mix. So for instance, I received this knife from Randy's WSG, a really great channel. Randy is over 1,000 subscribers right now. Just passed it, so congratulations to Randy for hitting that 1,000 mark. This knife, however, the one here, the Hunter XT by Victorinox, it started life with CB Tactical. Now, CB Tactical is right at 740 or so, so we need to throw some love his way and get out there and subscribe to his channel and such. What he did was he sent this knife to Tom from Knife Delights and said, here's a donation for the traveling knife reviews. And so he wanted other people to take a look at this knife. And I saw a couple of the reviews, and I contacted Tom from Knife Delights and said, I would love to join in on that because I think I have some a perspective that other viewers do not have. But before I get into all of that, I also want to say a quick thank you to Randy from Randy's WSG. He sent me this wonderful little bird and trout knife. He knows I have a collection of bird and trout knives. This one is by Fox and Hound. For those unfamiliar, Fox and Hound is another one of the SMKW house brands. They bought the name a while back. This particular one has a Damascus blade and wonderful, really thick stag handles. I will talk more about this knife in a future video. I'm assuming this was the gift for me. He also sent this little mermaid sticker. For those not familiar, that is of a very famous Sailor Jerry's tattoo. Sailor Jerry's rum is out there, and it's the house rum for Skip the Show's Volcano Club. And in any case, Sailor Jerry's is actually a tattoo artist, or was a tattoo artist, who made his name in Honolulu, Hawaii. And then the rum was named after him. In any case, guessing the sticker is for Skip, and it's a pretty cool sticker. I really like it. Thanks a lot, Randy. I'll make sure Skip gets the sticker, and thank you very much for the knife. Like I said, I'll be talking more about this knife in the near future. But right now, let's get to the Hunter XT. Now, here's the box that the knife came in, and you see here, Hunter XT with PCHDD box. I don't know what all that means, but I know it's the Hunter XT, and comes in this wonderful sheath. This is an aftermarket lanyard that was added. I'm not exactly sure who added that along the way. It's got a really nice little skull in there, though. Nice little OD paracord, which will match the knife. As you can tell, the knife comes in a nylon belt sheath, or belt pouch, I guess you would call it. Got the Victorinox there. It is held closed with Velcro. You see that it is leather lined, and there is a number stamped in there, 405473. In any case, what you have on it is the what do they call it? The dual density scales for the knife, and it's in OD and black. Now those scales are the same scales that you find on the current production Swiss Soldier's knife, and at first glance the knives almost look identical. Obviously you can see the difference there with the national shield on the Swiss Soldier's knife as opposed to the Victorinox shield on the Hunter XT. The same scales are also used on the U.S. Army utility knife that Victorinox makes. In any case, those are not the knives that I wanted to compare this to. There's a few other knives that I want to compare this to, but first let's go over all the functions of this particular knife. This particular knife is the Hunter XT, but there's something more to this than just being a Hunter XT. This is a Hunter XT that has a Phillips screwdriver on it. There are two versions of the Hunter XT. There's this particular one, and then there's the more common Hunter XT. The more common Hunter XT will have a corkscrew instead of a Phillips driver. This particular type of knife was made back in 2011 with the OD scales. The typical Hunter XT will have an orange a Hunter orange scale instead. It'll still have the black inserts, but the OD area will be all orange, and it will have a corkscrew. This is a discontinued model. You're not going to find this one easily out there, and if you do find it, it's probably going to run a little bit more simply because it has the Phillips driver on there. The typical Hunter XT does not have a Phillips driver. Now, there is also another model out there that this can easily get confused by because the profile of both of them are exactly the same, and that is the Hunter XS, as in X-ray Sierra. This would be X-ray Tango. From front and back, they almost look identical. The difference is the Hunter XS is a two-layer version of this knife, and it does not have the wood saw that runs down the middle. And this wood saw actually also doubles as a bone saw. So this is for cutting through bone and for cutting through wood. So that is the Hunter XT. The other two blades you have on the Hunter XT is a fine edge, one hand opening. That's why you got the big hole there, the bird's eye up on top, with a left hand liner lock. Now this particular one, that left hand liner lock is a little harder for me to use than it is on the other blade. That's the first time I closed it with no problem. The right hand opening gutting blade. This is the gutting blade that they have. And you know, notice the blunt tip there. That's so you can't puncture organs or anything, but that is the serrated edge gutting blade. Again, where's the close? This is right hand. So it's even harder for me to use because I'm left-handed. But in any case, one hand opening is fairly easy, either hand, left or right-handed. You can open it left hand. Closing it's a little more difficult for me. I don't know, other people may not have had nearly as many problems with it. If you notice, there's no, what a lot of people will refer to as the opener layer. There's no layer that has the cap lifter screwdriver and the can opener with the small screwdriver. It's a 3-layer knife. It eliminates that layer that has the can opener and everything. And that is somewhat unusual for a Victorinox knife. You don't have too many knives out there that is lacking that layer unless they were specially made. But it was designed that way for the Hunter XT. Notice also there is only one tool on the back side, and that is the Phillips driver. And as I mentioned, that Phillips driver, you'll only find it on this particular model unless somebody had it special ordered these days. This was continued back or discontinued back in 2011. For the most part, the Hunter XT will have orange covers and a corkscrew instead of a Phillips driver. So those are all the details of that particular knife. Now what I wanted to do is compare this knife to a few other knives that I have in my collection. Now I don't have a Hunter XS, but it's basically the same knife lacking the saw down the middle. but I do have the 111 millimeter Hunter. That is one of the knives that I want to compare it to. Another knife I want to compare it to is the rescue tool, the 111 millimeter rescue tool. And finally, the last knife I'm going to compare it to is the 108 millimeter Hunter. This is the, I guess you could say this is the grandfather to the Hunter XT. This is the father to the Hunter XT. And this is a distant cousin to the Hunter XT. Okay, let me start by getting these two knives out of the way. And we're going to start by looking at the two belt pouches for the two knives, because they're similar in many ways, but also quite different. First of all, the coloring is different. This is the rescue tool. This is the Hunter. Notice one is in black, one is in a bright red with a yellow trim. But the big difference between the two is the belt loop on the back. This one has a very large belt loop on the back, riveted in the bottom here, 2 rivets in the back there. This one has 4 rivets also, but a much slimmer belt pouch going on. And notice this is just one piece going all the way around. The leather here that is covered with the nylon and then riveted in place. Here's your belt loop right here. It's about 2 inches or so, something you could slip on most waist belts for your pants and such. This one is a much larger loop, and you notice that it is a separate piece that has been added to the back of it. And that is because this is set to go over the utility belt for firefighters and stuff. Now, I mentioned this knife came out in 2011. The rescue tool actually came out in 2007. This knife, the Hunter XT, was developed from input received by hunters in Switzerland. The rescue tool, it was designed in cooperation with medical and rescue service professionals in Switzerland. It also was very well received and received the International Knife Award for Knife of the Year in 2007 when it was first developed. Has a lot of interesting features on it. Now, I've had the rescue tool for several years, and when I first saw the Hunter XT, I thought it was similar to the rescue tool, and that's why I wanted to join in with this traveling review. Now that I have both knives in hand, I realized that I was way off. And there's a reason why the rescue tool costs about $20 more than the Hunter XT. Actually costs more, like about $35 more than the Hunter XT. What I had seen on this that made me think that they were both the same knife is this blade here, the gutting blade. You know, they called it a gutting blade, and I thought, well, that's like the seatbelt cutter blade. And it's not the seatbelt cutter blade. Here's the seatbelt cutter blade on here. Notice you've got this big nub over here sticking out at the end. The purpose of that big nub is so that you can get your finger under there even while wearing gloves and open up the seatbelt cutter. Notice the design of it is a little bit different. It's a straighter blade so that you can get under there and just cut real quick. This has a more refined curve going on. Both of them do have the blunt tip to prevent you from poking something, because obviously you don't want to poke somebody when you're cutting a seat belt. Now, both of these blades would probably function quite well as a seat belt cutter blade. This one has a little bit more length on it, so you can cut a little bit more. This one is one hand opening. This one you have to grab it with a finger and pull it open. But the difference, we'll get to a little bit of a difference on that in just a minute too, of why I like this blade a little bit better. The other blade that made me think that these knives were the same was the, this locks. The seatbelt blade there does not lock, but it doesn't really need to if you're just cutting a seatbelt. The other blade that made me think these were the same was the saw. But this is a saw for cutting through bone and wood. The saw blade on here, which is opens in the opposite direction. Notice it also has a little nub there so you can easily grab it. It looks like a much more aggressive saw blade if you look at the two. And the reason for this is actually designed for cutting through safety glass on a car, and also for cutting through the liners around the edges of the windows and stuff, so that you can pull out the entire windshield by cutting through the corner and then ripping it out. But this will actually cut through glass and stuff. The other interesting thing about this blade that you don't have on this blade is this blade is designed to be removed by the user of the knife. So this blade can be removed and replaced at user level. You don't have to send it back to have it replaced. So when it gets dull, you just replace it. A really interesting feature, and something that the rescue folks said they really needed, something that they needed to be able to replace that blade. This has the Phillips driver. This is the standard tool for this knife, the Phillips driver. As I mentioned before, while this one does have a Phillips driver, it is not the standard. The standard for this knife is a corkscrew. This also has a awl on the back here. They felt that they still needed to punch for some reasons. I don't know what it was, but they kept that layer. And this does have a front layer tool going on here, but the can opener has been replaced with a glass breaker here. And once again, the glass breaker, like the glass saw, can be replaced by the user. This can actually be pulled out and a new one can be replace it. That's because these things will dull over time. So they've made it so that the glass breaker can easily be replaced by the user. And on this side, you have the cap lifter and the screwdriver, the flat screwdriver. And it locks in place. You have a liner lock holding the screwdriver in place, so this can be used as a small pry. It can also be used as a screwdriver, things that are worthwhile. I don't know if you need the wire stripper as much, and obviously you don't really need the cap lifter portion, but it was really, this is the screwdriver that they use on their folding knives, so that's why that is what it is. And it can close easy enough. Toothpick and tweezers are still there. I don't know why they needed to leave them there, but they did. And this actually glows in the dark so that you can see it in low visibility situations. The other thing is the main blade, which also has a left-hand liner lock going on, is 3/4 serrated, and then you have the fine edge up front here. And that's because they felt that the serrated edge was a more useful blade for the firefighter and for the rescue folks. This has a fine edge, so that's really the difference between them. So there was quite a few differences to these two knives that I probably would have never caught on to unless I would have had this knife in hand. Like I said, man, I have a whole hard time with that lock so many times. But I would have never known that without having the knife in hand. And that's the cool thing about the idea of the traveling knife. You actually get to try out the knife without having to buy the knife. And obviously I'll be passing it on to somebody else. Now what I want to do is compare this knife to the other two Hunters that I have by Victorinox. Let me move my rescue tool out of the way and bring out the other 111 millimeter Hunter. This is just your Hunter. Now this comes in either red or the OD green. It will have the deer imprinted on the handle, both red or green. It does not have the dual density handles. This is an older version. So these are almost from the same time period, I guess. This is the one with the slide lock. I really like the slide lock because it reduces the weight of the knife. However, they do make the Hunter now with a liner lock. It is not one-hand opening, however, so you don't have the big bump there. You do have a straight blade, and it's a fine edge. So, and the blade lengths are the same on both knives. The difference is one is one-hand opening, one is not one-hand opening. Both lock. This one with the slide lock, there is a liner lock version. This one with the left hand liner lock, and I have a real hard time with this, and I'm left-handed. I think it's this particular model though. I think it's this particular example. I don't think it's the model itself. I'm not sure what has happened with it though. You have the wood saw. You also have the wood saw. Wood saws are a little bit different. One of them has a little bit more belly to them. Both of them can be used also for a bone saw. Neither saw locks, so you have that going. No lock on it, and no lock. And finally, you have gutting blades. Here's this gutting blade, and here is a smaller gutting blade that shows up on this knife. This gutting blade does not lock, as you can tell. It's much shorter, probably about an inch shorter. Matter of fact, let's get the ruler and find out. So this gutting blade is about an inch and a half of cutting. Well, an inch and a quarter of cutting length, a little over an inch and a half long. This one, the cutting edge is almost 2.5 inches. The overall length of it is about 2 3/4 inches. So, well, actually over 2 3/4 inches long. So a much longer cutting edge on this blade than what you have on this one. That might or might not be a problem for the hunter out there. Having not gutted an animal in like, I don't know how long, I really can't say which one's going to work better for you. I know for most of my uses, this blade is more than good enough. This one will obviously work a little bit better with a seat belt, but this one is long enough for cutting a seat belt as well. So if you're looking at it for something like that, pretty good. And this is obviously great for cutting up boxes, just as this one is great for cutting up boxes. But it really depends on what you want out of it. The cool thing with this one is it definitely locks. A right-hand lock on that one. This one does not lock. The other blade you have up front here is the combo tool. So you have the small screwdriver, can opener, and cap lifter. You do not have that on this knife here. This knife also has the punch with the sewing awl in there, and it has the corkscrew. Now, I know a lot of people in America are like, oh, I don't need a corkscrew anyway. Why do they put a corkscrew on that? I'd much rather have the Phillips driver. Well, to me, the Phillips drive doesn't make any sense on a hunting knife either. Maybe no back tool at all would be the better option. I don't know. But I do know in Europe, the corkscrew is a little more popular. And in Europe, they still believe that wine should come in a bottle that doesn't use a screw-on cap. So corkscrews are a little more popular there. And it seems like Victorinox likes to put corkscrews on knives that are hunter related, which reminds me, people will often compare the Hunter to the 91 millimeter Huntsman, say this is the big brother to the Huntsman. It is not. this is the Huntsman. There's a big difference between the Huntsman and the Hunter, other than size, and that is scissors. The Huntsman has scissors. The Hunter does not have scissors. So a knife that is more appropriate to compare to the Hunter is actually the Camper. The Camper has the similar blades to the Huntsman, in that it only has the wood saw going on, plus the main blade, and then the front tools here. But there's no gutting blade on the Camper. So there's really nothing that compares appropriately to the Hunter, other than the next knife I'll be showing you. And that is the 108 millimeter Hunter and the Safari line. And these came typically with a red nylon cover or scale. Has no tools in the scale. There's no toothpick or tweezers going on with it, but it does have a corkscrew, a longer corkscrew than what you're going to find on the new Hunter XT or this knife, because, well, let's open it up. See the difference in corkscrew length, a much longer corkscrew in the 108 millimeter Hunters. Now this one has the Phillips driver, I know, but it should have like I said, it's discontinued. This also has a very long reamer on it, much longer than what you find on there. The tools that you find on the 111 millimeter knives are actually the same tools that you find on the 91 millimeter frames. These have special tools on there. Now, there's also a Mauser version of this and a few other knives of this, but this is the standard 108 millimeter Safari Hunter. And the very front blade you have on here is the wood saw with the combination tip. So you have a flathead screwdriver here, a can opener, and a cap lifter all going on this blade, along with a wood saw. So that's a pretty cool blade. Lengthwise, you obviously have more cutting edge. Come on, let me get that saw blade out. I know I've got it on the right end. Here we go. You got more of a cutting edge on that saw with the 111 millimeter knife, because you don't have all these tools up in front. But this has a little bit more function going on for you. So if you're just using it for cutting bone or cutting through wood or something like that, you definitely have a better saw feature on that knife. Blade wise, one hand opening. These blades are obviously not one hand opening. Here's the main blade. You can see the difference in length. You can see there, got about another 1/4 inch, maybe even a 1/2 inch longer of a blade going on with it. Obviously a lock blade and non-locking blade, but you're cutting, pressing down, so it really doesn't matter too much. One hand opening, two hand closing most of the time for me. And then you have the gutting blade here. And this one also has a gutting blade. The gutting blade is a little different. It's really just a blunt tip going on there. It's rounded all the way around to the edge, so you're not cutting until you get in a little bit, so you have that part. This has a fine edge, this has a serrated edge. Which one works better? That is also up to the individual. I think a lot of people would much rather have a fine edge on the gutting blade too. There is a slight curve to the gutting blade, but nothing substantial. So some people might want a little bit more curve going on with the cutting edge. But that is the original 108 millimeter Hunter compared to the Hunter XT. What I like about the Hunter XT is the fact that you do have the blades locking. What I do not like on the Hunter XT is all the bumps. This is not comfortable in the hand at all as far as I'm concerned. Especially if all you're doing is using the saw, you have all those bumps. It does not feel really comfortable. If it were flatter like you have with the Hunter, let's close that. You get the saw out there. This feels a whole lot more comfortable in the hand, not nearly as many hot spots. You can actually saw with this with no problem. And you have that problem continue on with this knife even when you have the blades out. You have the main blade out, you have the big bump back there. That is not comfortable in the back of the hand. It's hitting you in those two fingers. I don't find it comfortable at all. Close it up. It's even worse on this end with the gutting blade because you have all that blade sticking up and that bump. That bump is just, you're going to know it's there. I guess you'll get used to it over time, but for me, it just does not feel very comfortable in the hand to begin with. And that is going to work on you if you're processing game, especially if you got more than one that you're working on in a day. So that's my thoughts on it. It's not the most comfortable knife in the world. I think get rid of the one-hand opening features. Do you really need one-hand opening features? I mean, to me, I would say no. I know Americans are going to say, I definitely wish they continued to have the Phillips driver on the back. They're going to really like that Phillips driver. Even though I wonder how often they would end up having to use it when they're hunting. Corkscrews, the same thing. Maybe you don't need any tool on the back at all. I don't know. For me, I think the corkscrew is a better option. And in any case, that's just very much a personal opinion going on. Of these knives, I like this Hunter the best. Then I like this one. Then I like the Rescue Tool. I'll tell you what, the Rescue Tool, it also has a few lumpy bumpies going on there, but even this feels better in the hand in most instances over the Hunter XT. Those two bumps really do get to your hand. In any case, at this point, I'm just kind of rambling, so I will let you go. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was a little bit long, but you got to see a lot of pretty Victorinox knives. And probably going to have to revisit the Rescue Tool in the future and talk a little bit more about it. But with that said, I'm not sure where the traveling Hunter XT is going to next, but once I find out, I will be sending it on its way. I want to say thanks to Tom from Knife Delights and also to CB Tactical for supplying the knife, and also for Randy WSG for the cool gifts that came along with the knife. So when I send this along, I will have to definitely step it up a notch with the swag pack. With that said, stick around for some slides, and I will talk to you again soon.
second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time.